All right. So welcome to tonight's show at MSTR Report here. So I'm going to get in the game right now. We're going to talk about Saylor discussing the $10 trillion potential future valuation of Strategy. And I'm going to jump in and talk about some of Saylor's quotes tonight and what he thinks about the future of Strategy. So not financial advice, not tax advice, not legal advice. Do your own research on this. Now let's get into the show. Okay. So here's basically what's happening. We all know you've been watching this show or you've been watching on the internet and following Strategy for a while. We are clear that Strategy is not a software company anymore. It is a Bitcoin vault with a ticker symbol. And it's very clear by the amount of Bitcoin that they hold, over 568,000 Bitcoin, with a valuation around $59 billion for Strategy, give or take, depending on how the price fluctuates day to day. I know we dropped below 400 today, but earlier in the week on May 9th, we hit a $430 price point for Strategy. So Strategy is headed in the right direction, and it's very clear what's happening. Now, recent data, James from Invest Answers shared this report earlier today. He talked about the sats per share for Strategy, and that since August of 2020, the sats per share have gone up by 8.22x, so 8x, which is big. And if you're holding Strategy, you know that one of the goals that Saylor has and one of the goals that we have as shareholders, if you own shares of Strategy, not financial advice, one of the goals is to have more Bitcoin per share. So more sats per share, more Bitcoin per share. It's a good game. It's gone up over 8x in terms of sats per share since August 2020. That is a very, very good sign for shareholders. It's a good thing. Now, if we look back, we take a little bit of a look at the history of Strategy. We can see in 2024, at the end, you remember they started their big buys when they announced their 21 billion plan in terms of raising capital, issuing shares, doing stuff like that to buy $42 billion worth of Bitcoin. Now, in about 50 days, they raised about $12 billion in late 2024. So we know they're on an aggressive buying spree. They were in 2024. They're on a bigger buying spree in 2025. They've now turned that $42 billion plan into an $84 billion plan. And it's the usual suspects of how they're doing it. They're issuing shares. That's the common thing. They issue common shares. And, their basic strategy is when Bitcoin's price goes up, they're able to issue shares at a premium, and they take that excess cash and they buy Bitcoin. That's what they do. And that's how they're able to do what they do over and over again. They're also using debt. So same old story. They're borrowing money to buy Bitcoin, and then they have their preferred stock, which is more fixed rates of return with these more conservative instruments. So the game hasn't changed. They're continuing to do it. Saylor recently did an article with or an interview with the Financial Times. Here's his quote. You've heard it before. He says, Bitcoin is the apex property, the best investment asset. The end game is to acquire more Bitcoin. There is no other end game. That's Saylor's words. Now, in his talk to the Financial Times, of course, people are asking about Strategy and the risk of Strategy, and there is a risk, and one needs to actually look at this. So his quote to the Financial Times is, our capital structure is constructed so that Bitcoin could fall 90% and stay there for 4 or 5 years, and we would still be stable. Michael Saylor, quote to the Financial Times. So that's his message to the Times. That's his message in the marketplace with this. Also, he does go on to say this, which is important for us to look at and be aware of when we hit the top. He also says it wouldn't be a good outcome for the equity holders. They would suffer because they're levered. And, this is a risk of owning Strategy, is if we have a blow off top with Bitcoin, which I'm anticipating in 2025. And that means we would have a blow off top with Strategy. And Strategy would hit new all-time highs. Bitcoin would hit more than new all-time highs. And it would be rocking. And so at some point, you got to look, if Bitcoin does drop, and how much would Strategy go down? And you really got to consider that as a possibility when owning this stock. Not financial advice for anybody to buy it, but this is the educational point of this, of looking at both sides. I still anticipate Strategy will go way up. And when it goes way up, we know how much it moves in a day. It's not uncommon. On May 9th, it was $430. Now it fell below 400. So that's like, that's an 8% move in a week. And sometimes it can move 5-10% in a day. So one needs to pay attention to this. And at the same time, I'm very bullish on Strategy. There's a little data here that pointed out that on March 31st, the cash that Strategy had is 60 million in cash, and their Bitcoin holdings at the time was 43 billion. Some of this data is pointed out to show that they're a little bit leveraged, or they have not a lot of cash. And there's articles that have been, submitted and put out that says, how are they going to service their debt on things? And, Saylor has a plan. There's no question about that, per his original quote that he just said about 2 minutes ago that I quoted from the Financial Times. So he definitely has a plan. They're not going to put Strategy, I don't think, in harm's way. And I think they're smart about what they're doing. And, when Bitcoin dipped in February, Saylor tweeted, "Sell a kidney if you must, but keep the Bitcoin." So, I think he was being a little bit serious and a little bit extreme on that. But the point is, he's very serious about keeping his Bitcoin, and he's very serious about the future of Strategy, and he's very serious about Bitcoin. So that's the message from him. And Strategy's market cap is somewhere around $115 billion right now. So the market cap's growing, the stock's growing. And Jeff Walton, he's one of Strategy's analysts. And here's what he says. Here's his quote. He says, "Strategy will be the #1 publicly traded equity in the entire market." That's pretty big. And here's why he says that. He gives 3 reasons. Number 1, he says Strategy owns more pristine collateral than any company on earth. Number 2, they raise capital faster than anyone. I mean, when's the last time you saw a company come out of the gate this much? I mean, they're buying, $1 billion of Bitcoin here, $1 billion there, 500 million here. They're buying Bitcoin all the time. They're raising capital to do it, and the market is giving them the capital to do it. And they're riding the world's hardest asset, according to Jeff Walton, one of Strategy's analysts. Saylor also told the Financial Times, which is interesting here, he says MicroStrategy is in a position where we can grow from a $100 billion enterprise, because right now they're sitting over $100 billion, to a $1 trillion enterprise, to a $10 trillion enterprise. That's pretty big. I mean, that's big. So to give some context on this, and I'll give you the quote one more time, because I think it's one of these things. Ignore this person in the chat box. Somebody's pretending to be me here. There's all these hackers that come on, these jokers. Okay, so ignore this thing that says my name on Facebook, because it's a lie. Okay, so sorry guys, whoever's in the chat. So with that, Saylor, I'm going to give you that quote again because it's very, very powerful. He says, MicroStrategy is in a position where we can grow from a $100 billion enterprise to a $1 trillion enterprise to a $10 trillion enterprise. So mathematically, for Strategy to be worth $10 trillion one day in the future, Bitcoin would need to hit $17.6 million per coin. That's the rough estimate. And that is a rough estimate. Now, if you've heard Saylor's predictions before, he's talked many times about Bitcoin potentially hitting $13 million in 2045. He's obviously bullish. He makes bold predictions. He acts boldly. Will any of that come true? We don't know. Please ignore the hackers, guys, in the thread. We're going to get rid of these people, but they're just full of crap over here. So these Facebook people over here in the thread, they're somebody's impersonating me here over in the thread to be Ted. It's not, and these other people showing up are impersonating me. Beat it. Get out of here. Okay. So great. So the next thing is, if you look at that type of, like, if Bitcoin were to hit 17.6 million and Strategy were to hit $10 trillion, that's 5x Apple and Amazon combined. So that's a pretty big valuation. That's also 9 times Bitcoin's current market cap. So that would be a huge valuation. And it's just under gold's global value of their market cap. So is it a moonshot? Yeah, but if you look at it over extended periods of time, if you look over a 20-year time horizon or longer, I don't think it's a moonshot. So here's where Saylor thinks we're headed. 4 big predictions for Bitcoin. Banks will lend against your Bitcoin, is what he says. That's number 1. So banks will lend against your Bitcoin. The U.S. government will hold Bitcoin, as we're seeing. Big tech will adopt it. And then finally, Bitcoin will be on your iPhone. These are the 4 things that Saylor actually says. And then CEO Brian Armstrong from Coinbase says crypto will be a core part of every 401k plan in the future. So pretty strong. So that's the story. Strategy's up this year. Bitcoin's up this year. If Bitcoin hits $1 million, Strategy could become the biggest win in corporate history. I think we're trending in that direction. Pretty cool, right? So that's the story for the day. If you like it, hit the like button, subscribe down below. If you're not subscribed, leave a comment and ignore these people in the chat box. This Ted McGrath here in the chat box is a hacker impersonating me. Call out the hackers, please. And the people who are saying things and responding to this are getting into that game. So ignore them, okay? Please ignore all the Facebook posts here in this actual chat box. All right, guys. If you want to get in the M game, if you missed the market today or missed the market any other days, I have a new platform coming out called M Game. You'll see it in the link down below, and I'm going to be giving you updates that are taking place in like 90 seconds, multiple times throughout the day on Bitcoin, multiple times throughout the day on strategy. So that's coming out soon. And if you want to get on the early access list, put your name and email. Just click the link down below. You get early access. And when the platform's live, you will be notified of it. Okay. Hope it serves you guys. Again, please ignore the person in the chat box that's pretending to be me and the people that are pretending to send money to this person. Ignore them. Okay. Because that is not me. That is an impersonator. All right. Hope this serves you guys. And I will see you guys on the other side and see you soon. Okay. Hope you have a great night.